Hello, Kazi. It's Oz. I'm going to do a kind of an abbreviated VOD review here. I just kind of want to point out some of like the main things I've noticed in this game. Um, okay, so main thing I'm going to start off with is in the beginning, before I even talk about anything, uh, enemy team it just is going to have a team comp advantage on you right here. And you might know this just from your experience in playing Overwatch 1, but in Overwatch 2, it's going to be the same concept. They're essentially playing six man, and they're playing it with Overwatch 2 instead of Overwatch 1. Um, Winston Rush is where they run the Lucio and the Moira, and what that ends up causing your team as a part of like a challenge is that it's hard to find a dive target on their team because anytime you dive someone, they can kite you. Whereas on your team, you have Ana and Zen, who both do not have mobility, and therefore it's kind of like you always have a dive target, and they kind of don't. And another reason why it's kind of hard for you to play a Winston dive into a Winston rush comp is that you have what's called the leash. And the leash is the concept that Ana needs to have line of sight on you and anyone else who you're trying to utilize in order to make a play, in order for that play to generally be successful and for them to not just kind of die in whatever the thing is that they're doing. It adds consistency to whatever they're doing. And so it's actually a really strong play for red team here to just cut off line of sight between Ana and you, for example. And that's a good enough play to like actually get a bunch of value, but you're not necessarily going to cut off Moira's LOS of Winston and get a lot of value. It's not the same, right? They're playing closer together. Moira has fade, so she's probably not going to die. And, like you're just not going to cut off the line of sight in the same way that it's super simple for the red team to kind of cut off Ana's line of sight of you. You have a leash. They don't have a leash. You have dive targets. They don't have as many dive targets, or not as easily diveable of targets. Okay. How does your team comp beat theirs in this matchup? Well, you are at an automatic disadvantage because of your team comp. The Zen is a big crutch here. Zen should switch to Brig, or you should just mirror what they have. But if you're going to play this comp, the only way to beat them is to just dive first. You need to dive first on top of them, force out the resources. You need to literally just play faster. What's your like what you're going to end up seeing here is that both teams are incentivized to play as fast as possible. Whoever plays faster in the dive is going to generally win the fight. And it's not that the team is just better than you, it's that your team has dive targets and theirs don't. And so it's easier for them to play faster than it is for your team to play faster. Okay, noticing from what you're seeing right here, you should be able to see that they are on six man. And as soon as you know they're on six man and you are on full Winston dive, like they're on Winston rush, you're on Winston dive, you should just go. You should just straight up fucking, you're like in. All right. Absolutely just go in hard. Another thing, okay, another little difference between your comps, by the way, is that you're playing with a Sombra, they're playing with a Sojourn. I don't want to forget this. This is actually a really important concept. Sombra comps play slower. All right. You automatically play slower because Sombra has to set up. When there's setup required, like with Sombra, your whole team is just going to play a little bit slower. And like I said, the key to winning these fights is you need to dive faster. You need to play faster than them. Kind of hard to do when you're playing a Sombra because Sombra doesn't really have much time to like set up behind them, and there's no real scout phase. You just have to be an absolute god at scouting and just go. You just gotta fucking go. Like there's a world here where Sombra goes in for a hack on someone in there, and then you just instantly have a dive target and just like not a target, but like you just like dive inside there and go for it. You could get a big purple, like maybe they don't commit bubble immediately, and you get a huge purple off. You start cleaving, and honestly, you can demolish them if you play fast enough here. But what you're gonna end up noticing instead is that they're gonna have the bubble down. You're not gonna get through to them. Okay, you're not getting through to them. You don't have a dive target. Your team hasn't made a play. Your Sombra is trying to like get a hack off on someone. I don't know if they actually hit a hack target there. No, it doesn't look like they did. So what did we do? What did she just hacked the Mega? Okay, so she hacked Mega. That's what she did. All right, fine, fair enough. But like all this time spent, I mean, this is like tick-tock. Who's going to make the play? Who's making a play? Who's going to make a play? Your Sombra is sitting over here with your team, like, I don't know, shooting, which is fine, I guess. But like now she's cloaking with the intent to go around, right? But like, what do we see here? LGDX on the Winston jumps in, gets the kill on the Zenyatta. And so red team played faster. They played faster. They had the first dive. You were not able to dive them as fast as they were able to find a target and dive you. And so Zen died first. And what you're going to notice in this whole first game here is that you continue to play Zenyatta the entire game, and Zenyatta continues to be the first one to die every single fight. I mean, not every single fight, but pretty much when I was watching, I noticed Zen dying first a lot. All right. They were able to find that around you. There was a moment there, I think, that they killed the Zen like that. Ana kind of rushing in here, and this whole last 10 seconds, if I were to go back 10 seconds, is like you're not even watching any of that happen. You're kind of just like, okay, I'll throw my right clicks. Not really jumping on anyone. Looking through here. The Zen dies. You find a Sojourn. You jump on her. Too late. This is just too late. So you might even be able to confirm a kill here, but now you know as well that like your Ana's down as well. So you have no Zen, no Ana. You managed to get rid of their Sojourn. Awesome. See the Genji. You might be able to get a kill here, which you are able to. And then you jump out. So I like to see the jump out. That's pretty solid. Generally, Winston is kind of like a hero that uses bubble as a utility ability in order to create space for his team. Winston doesn't necessarily always dive a player. Sometimes he just dives a position, right? And I think you know this as a Winston player. You have soft dives and you have hard dives, where a soft dive is where you do not commit your bubble, and a hard dive is where you do commit your bubble. Generally, when you do a soft dive, so you don't necessarily have to dive a person all the time. Sometimes you just want to have space claimed for your team, for them to either use or not. But when it's claimed for you, then it's more difficult for the enemy team to enter that space, to contest that space. They have to spend resources to contest it. So sometimes that's important. And then sometimes you actually want to commit your bubble. And you generally, if you're going to commit your bubble, you want to commit it on a target rather than just on a position. So that's something else to think about. Let's keep watching the fight. You're going to regroup with your team here. Fight one's lost. Again, it was mainly because they have a team comp advantage. At this point, you could have called for a mirror comp. And I think that is the play. I think, honestly, here, call for a mirror comp. This could have gone a lot better for you. Nice right clicks. We got the hack on the Moira. You follow up on it. Nice. You made a play. So I want to go back 10 seconds here. I'm going to just recognize something that happened. All right. You look at what the enemy teams got going on right now. They've got 4. You've got kind of like 5 coming up here. All right. And really with the Winston Rush comp, what they're trying to do here is they want to catch you mid-rotation. And so they're a rush comp, right? They want to find your backline when your backline is preoccupied trying to change position to get somewhere better. And while they're making that positional change, that what we call a rotation, a positional rotation, then the Winston comp wants to catch them mid-rotation and rush into them and kill them. That's kind of like the idea of what they want to do. They're kind of waiting for that to happen, but they don't have their Genji. And when you think about like who plays faster here, who gets the first dive, you found a hack, and you made the first dive. Excellent. So you get to kill on the Moira. That's awesome. All right. Now it's a 5v4. This is not too difficult to win. Once you have a 5v4, this is very heavily in your favor. 5v4s are very hard to lose, honestly. In Overwatch 2, it's like more than it's more impactful than a 5v6 in Overwatch. Okay. All right. Now, you do end up winning this fight, but one thing I want to note is that you didn't have to die. Okay. As you're coming down off the top here, what you've done is you've turned this from like a dive on the Moira to a hard dive with a bubble. And once you drop the bubble here, once you use this bubble cooldown, then you're committing to playing in this position. You want to bubble dance. You want to stay here. You basically, this is a great play for pushing Sojourn off the position. You don't want Sojourn to sit on this angle and farm your team. So you dropped a bubble here and zoned her out. A zoning play is great. This is a great space making play for you. You don't have to play past the bubble. I want to note you have jump. So if you don't want to die here, you just jump out, right? If you don't want to die, just jump out. But what I've noticed here is you're getting really greedy. You want to go for this kill, and you're going to notice you're going to start to lose a lot of health. And what ended up happening is you actually lost line of sight with your backline. So they baited you out of the bubble. You're way out of your bubble now. All right, this is like a kind of a no-no on Winston. You don't want to go that far out of your bubble if it risks dying, especially if it takes you out of line of sight of your leash. All right, so their win condition of kind of pulling you out of your leash, out of your line of sight of Ana, was fulfilled not by them really, but by yourself. You kind of like are your own worst enemy in this scenario. You do end up winning this fight because you were able to get that early pickup on Moira. They are kind of low on resources. This play, while it did cause you to die, was pretty aggressive, did push them all into this position over here, created a lot of space for your team. And yeah, so you are able to actually pull this one off. Get the kill onto LGDX. Zen gets a nice little kill there. Okay. I would have still liked to see you survive there, and I think you could have if you had just like danced inside your own bubble and played more for like a zoning play than like a kill for that Sojourn. Just to make the main critique I'd give you there. On this fight, I really would have liked to see you beeline it straight for this high ground, just because you know that they're going to take the high ground, and so like both teams want this, right? You want it as a defending team because you don't want them to have it, and they want it because it gives them advantage. And when this team gets to put Genji and Sojourn and whoever else, Monkey or whatever, on top of this little perch on Bisan, well, then they're able to get much better sights. And then this is how like a Winston Rush comp will do their scouting. They don't have a Sombra in the back line. They need these perches, right? They need this perch so they can just physically look and try to find the back line that they're looking for. All right. And you can deny them from having that perch by just standing up here. Also, you know how Winston wants to stand on the high ground in fights, in like the beginning of fights, so that he can drop off without jump, use his bubble, pressure the enemy team, and then if he's about to die, you just jump back onto the high ground. Force him to use resources to follow you, right? So, you know that little play style for Winston and how that's kind of ideal. Instead of walking up to that position, you kind of take this route around point, and I'm not really sure why. And in the time it took you to do that, you'll notice that the Genji and the Sojourn are completing kind of what they want to be doing, and they're getting their scouting on top of the high ground. You would like to have already been there, zapping them off, but you're not quite there. Now they've kind of like scouted you out, right? So your Ana's in position, and I kind of like this position with Ana, right? Using the stairs as cover, really awesome. Like your Ana's Zen, doing great. I think they're doing great right now. The problem is, they're going to make a dive for you, aren't they? They're going to actually make their play first. Drug has come up here. You know, you're about to jump up there, but now look at LGDX making the play on your backline. Like, this is how they start their play. And watch this, right? He jumps on your backline. He drops the bubble. He's kind of broken that leash, hasn't he? Right? And now you're jumping up here, and look at the entire red team. Just say, nope, goodbye. See you later. They all rushed your backline. You just used your jump. Your jump's on 2-second cooldown. You're still up here. Your whole team kind of caught with their pants down. And they're able to rush over here. It kind of made your whole positioning irrelevant. And by the time you actually arrived here, they're able to get 3 kills on your team. This is just like showing kind of the disadvantages of playing Ana Zen against Moira Lucio in like a Winston comp. And again, like you're using the Sombra, which is slowing your team's tempo down. You play at a slower tempo with Sombra because she needs setup. She needs to like find a place, have her translocator in place, be invisible, be behind him, call the target, say she's ready, hack the target, and now you're like actually making the play. Whereas Sojourn just has to be in position with sights and just kind of shooting. And so they can play so much faster than you. And it's so hard to keep up with their tempo, given like what team comp you're playing. The crutch of playing Sombra and Zen versus what they're doing is just, it's like really hard. It'd be really hard for any team to win against this matchup like this. Okay. This fight's where you actually make a pretty good play. I believe I remember this one correctly. So you jump on top of here. You do like a little soft dive. Kind of nice. You kind of like push some people. He put the Genji off. He does a bigger contest. Like they put a field up here and they put a Winston bubble up here to commit to having this. But that's kind of huge, right? The Winston bubble on like a 13-second cooldown. The field, I don't remember what that cooldown is. It's a pretty long one, similar to the Winston bubble. So they've committed a lot of resources to keeping up this high ground, and they eventually just kind of get off of it. And so good job from your team, like forcing them off of that high ground. That's like a start, right? And now they're still looking to do the same thing. The enemy team, red team here, they're trying to do the same thing against you. They're looking for you to make a play. Okay, and when you make a play, they want to catch your backline mid rotation. They want to watch for you to make a play, and as you rotate into that play that you're going to make, they want to rush your backline. Okay, that's what they want to do. Your plan is to nano your monkey in. All right, and I think your plan's good. Your plan is fine. I mean, this is pretty much what you kind of have to do. You also have EMP. You're playing for that. You see how slow this is being played. Like there's so many opportunities in the last 10 seconds where your team could have done something. Your team could have like just gone for EMP. Like there's so many opportunities, but it's been slow play again because Sombra, kind of a tough pick against what you're playing against here. You get in, you get the nano, and Moira pops her coalescence from the other team. And one thing you notice here is the red team is highly focused on you and not really like pushing into your backline. But you'll also notice that Zen died first. So you're already in this 4v5. And this is, again, a disadvantage that is just continuously happening and happening and happening, where your Zen dies first. Your Zen just dies first because they're able to play a little bit faster. They kind of have more tempo. Now, they're all looking at you. The Mora Coalescence looking at you instead of the Ana. Pretty nice. I mean, that's a misplay from Jackson there. He should be just killing your Ana here, but he's not going to be. Your Sombra and your Genji are trying to push into their backline, not really able to find a kill. Your Sombra goes down, and this doesn't end up being a successful push, unfortunately, for your team. Now they're using Overclock. Notice how your Ana gets a pretty sick purple on their team, but I mean, your team is not really in any position to actually capitalize on this. So they're purpled, yeah, but I mean, they're kind of just still alive too. You're on the back foot. The ebb and flow is super in their favor. They have a lot of tempo. And now the clock is so far that your Zenyatta decides to play the zoom Yata play and just zoom to point as quick as possible. And, this never really goes well. However, if there's any chance to do anything here, I would definitely be popping Primal. Just pop Primal. I mean, you got to keep them off the point. Try to disrupt the space they have and stall as much time as possible in order to get your team back, because right now you're just down a couple and there's just no way you win in this this sort of like, do they have five? They have five. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they have all five. They have all five. You have 3. I mean, it's like, how do you win a 5v3? You just don't, right? Or sorry, how do you win a 3v5? I should phrase it. So I mean, you can use Primal here. You can use Blade. They've got the beat. I mean, that's pretty much going to speak for itself. It's really hard to win this game. It's easier for them to play faster than you because their comp allows them to play faster. It's harder for you to play faster because you have the crutch of playing with that with the Sombra who has to like be in position. You have to just like find the target immediately and rush it and just hope that you're making the right play. And they have dive targets and you don't, and so it's harder for you to find the target, easier for them to find a target. And that's kind of what went wrong for you there. Okay. I might have the audio glitch, and if we have the audio glitch, I'm going to restart the recording. Oh, that seems fine. Okay. On Zarya, you had a pretty good Zarya, like, on the last half of the game. You were definitely, like, I think remembering how to play Zarya. You're remembering your fundamentals as the game kind of went along. One thing I've been noticing on your Zarya play in this VOD is that I feel like you're using your bubbles just to get energy, and getting energy it comes secondary in using your bubbles. Like, having high energy is a really good thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to misspeak here. Having high energy, very good thing. But bubbles do something else with Zarya. Something else very important to Zarya, and that is to say that they make plays. Zarya, if you have 2 bubbles, can do all kinds of plays. All kinds of plays can be made with 2 bubbles. If you have at least like half of your energy or so and 2 bubbles, then in all your health, then Zarya is really scary. Like, Zarya can do a lot. But what I've noticed in this game from watching your gameplay is your bubbles seem to prioritize getting energy and not like making a play. And so I'll show you kind of what I mean by that. All right, we're speeding out with our team. Getting a little speed boost there from shooting the ground. Very cool. All right, we used one bubble. They fielded. They haven't really made a dive yet. They haven't really made a play. Okay. And you've used both of your bubbles. And all you've done with using both of these bubbles is saying like, okay, I'm going to be able to stand here. I will have the privilege of standing here. But you didn't use your bubbles with Lucio speed boost to run into them and take a brawl. You see the difference, right? There's a way of playing with bubble in that it can either deny an enemy play or enable your team's play. And then there's the way you're using bubble, which is just to get energy. Now, I understand if you have no energy and two bubbles and you're kind of in a poke battle from a distance, I can excuse you for the first bubble you used. Okay, like I'll look at this. Look at this. See this one? Excused. Absolutely excused. What I want to see though is after using this bubble, getting your 40 energy, taking a little bit of damage, feed your support also a little bit. Great. You got your energy. Just chill for a second then. If you wanted to do an energy farm bubble, that's fine. But don't do 2 energy farm bubbles. Because that's what you did, right? You did 2 of these. You were already halfway to another bubble. If you had waited just a little bit longer, then you would have had some energy and 2 bubbles, right? But instead, we're going to do a second energy farm bubble. And here they are. They're jumping into your backline, and you don't have any bubbles. You have energy, but no bubbles. When you don't have bubbles, it's hard for you to control space. It's hard for you to do anything, like when it comes to space. All you have is energy, so you can just utilize whatever space you currently have to try to get whatever kill you can get. So that's what you're going to try to do here. And now your Baptiste went down. In a brawl comp, if your flex support goes down, your healing goes way down. All right. You took out their main tank, and so you can push into them. You can push into them. Again, now you have maximum charge, and you bubbled, and you pulled back as you used it. All right. I want to mention as well that we are amping speed into them. This should be full throttle ahead. Okay. You see that little back pedal? But why? Why the back pedal? Right? Partially, you feel like I'm not full health. I don't have any bubbles. That's kind of what kind of makes you backpedal a little bit there. We should be going into them as hard as possible. Ideally, you'd have more bubble. Now you have 1. Okay, now you have 1. This is good. This fight should be winning. You lost drug. You lost drug now. Okay, you're waiting on Bap to come back. Now you're waiting on drug to come back. Reaper has no Wraith, and he's going in with half health, no Wraith. That's a big mistake. Okay. He dies for that. Okay. I want to also mention that you have no bubbles. I want to go back for a second. Okay. You have high energy, half of a bubble. I'm saying half because I'm looking at the cooldown down there. You're halfway to 1 bubble. So I'm going to say that you have 0.5 bubbles. You have a half of a bubble. Ideally, you are the strongest you can be when you have both bubbles available and some energy. Okay. I want to watch what you do here. You are at 1 bubble, 90 energy. Okay. What you want to do is get up to 2 bubbles, not... Okay. Now, hold on. We'll see another example in the future. I thought this was a different part of a fight. What I'm seeing right now is that you've lost 3. Your BAP is about to come back, and you're Lucio, and you went to point to try to capture it. And I understand trying to capture here, but what's going to end up happening is they're able to contest first. You're down too many, and the right call here would actually be to have retreated to your team and protected the energy you have. You do have a bubble here, so if you did actually retreat to your team and just let them cap the first point, which they are going to be able to anyway, then you would have been able to save your energy and not die. But instead, we used a bubble to protect our Lucio. We're going to protect him with another one. And this is going to go as badly as you think it's going to go. I mean, being that you only really had you and Lucio on point. Baptiste did come back, but Sojourn just killed your Baptiste. So, Okay. We're back. Next fight. We're going to see a little bit more questionable bubble usage here. First one, I'll excuse this one, get some energy, and then come back. All right, that one I excuse. The second one I do not excuse. Okay, this is the one that's weird. This is the one that's like super weird, right? Because look where this bubble ends up getting you, all right? To the top of the stairs. But the objective of your bubbles, the objective of all your team's cooldowns here, all your resources, is not to get to the choke, but to get past the choke, right? And so you used all your bubbles here. You started here, bubbled, and then you bubbled again. You walked to the top of the staircase, and you're still not through the choke. You have no bubbles. And so what can you do at this point? No bubbles, no play. No bubbles, no play. You got fielded. You got antied. You got no bubbles. You have high energy and nothing to do with it. You run away. Okay. Drugs way in, dies. You got the bubble again on the back foot. Not much you can do here. And they just have like nanoed monkey and they're just jumping into you, and there's really nothing your team can do about this. I mean, not much you can do about this. Ideally, what you'd want to do instead, the way you want to play this. Okay. I'll show you. Come back. We're going about 30 seconds. This first one, you use bubble. You took one. I'll give you that one. Okay. I'd rather you stay a little closer to the forklift so you can come back, kite around. Just you got some, because your team is grouping up here, right? They're kind of like gathering back together. And then you like, okay, you come back here. You wait for like your bubble to come back, but you use it again. And this one's only going to get you to the top of the steps. Okay. You look at Lucio. Lucio's not even with you to like speed you through the choke. Your whole team is so far behind you right now. And like this is just like not a play. This is you being way too far forward. You have no bubbles now. You didn't speed through. You're not through the choke. And now this is just like really questionable. You got purpled. You come back. You have no bubbles. We know what happens next. So let's tell you how you approach it again, because you're gonna have to approach it again. Okay, you have high energy, half a bubble, and you grab. Okay. We have one bubble, 1.5 bubble. Okay. This time, a little bit different. We're going to amp speed in, right? Amp speed in. And you're popping bubble when you have 1.5 bubbles, and hopefully you'll get the next bubble by the time this one sort of expires. And we're pushing through the choke. You're seeing this is bubbles being played as like a gameplay. Like you're actually using bubbles to make a play, rather than just to get energy. And this is the one that has big impact. This is the big impact space making bubble. Huge. One mistake you made here, though, is you bubbled on 470 HP. You only lost 5. So during the duration of this bubble, your BAP is only going to be able to heal you for 5. You would rather have actually spent some of your life pool. Like if you had taken 150 to 250 damage and then bubbled, then this play would have pushed further. Your BAP could have healed you while you were invulnerable from that bubble, and that would have just been like a synergy at play. The more you sandbag that bubble, the better, right? Generally, you want to just actually sandbag the bubble as much as you can. The more you sandbag it, the more value you can churn from it. So always just like hold that bubble just a little bit longer if you can. Always hold it just a little bit longer. This is a little early, and I'm going to show you why, all right? You throw the grab, and you start walking forward, and it's right now, all right, where your bubble went away. You have really high charge, and you're kind of back here. I don't know why you backpedaled down over here, but like you're out of bubble. Maybe that was it. It's instinctually, you're like, my bubble's coming off. I'm going to stand back a little bit. Maybe it was kind of just like a primal instinct in your brain that made you want to pull back a little bit there. Then you start walking forward again here. You're going to have another bubble in a moment. But if you had sandbagged your bubble just a little bit there in the beginning, then actually you wouldn't have just like backpedaled there a little bit, right? You would have been like full force forward. Definitely full force forward. And it shows, this is just kind of a demonstration how sandbagging the bubble could have pressed the space even farther. You got a little bit more value out of it. Here you're getting lamp. You force lamp out of your BAP, and you use the next bubble. You're really low. But you think your team cleans this up. A nice little right click. Nice play from your Reaper. You bubble to protect yourself. Awesome. That's what bubbles do. Bubbles make plays. Okay. So here, you're shooting the top rather than taking the top space. All right. And so that was a really weird amount of time to just sit on the cart and not do anything. Maybe you're pressing tab. I'm going to assume you're pressing tab. I'll forgive you for that one. But yeah, you definitely should just beeline to this top choke. You want to play corners, obviously. Zarya is a corner player. Okay. So we have high energy, no bubbles. We back around because we got discorded. Now we have high energy, no bubbles, which means no play. We make no play here. We wait for them to misplay, which they are going to do. All right. Now we have one bubble and energy. So now, at least we can kind of make a play. If we had two bubbles right here, this would be disgusting. We could just shove. We could shove so hard. We could mow them down with two bubbles. With one, a little bit harder. Only one bubble here. But we can still make a play. We choose to kind of sandbag a bit and stay stabilized to try to get that second bubble. I respect that. Here's the play. Big. High energy. They used field. You don't give a shit. You have bubbles. So you don't even care. You play into their field. You bubble once, and then you're going to bubble again. And you keep going. And here, I think you're playing a little bit scared. When you have so many resources, you should be pushing a little bit harder into them. Now, you've done what you needed to do. You got the kills you needed to do. And you want to keep your energy. Don't die. Don't do anything dumb. Get two bubbles. Your win condition here should just be get two bubbles. Two bubbles, high energy, you win the game. Two bubbles, high energy, you can make a play. Bubbles equal play. This big, terrible mistake. You are just going in here to like poke or something. You waste a bubble. You already had high energy, and now you're down to less than half a bubble. You wanted to get to two bubbles, but you went down a bubble for like no reason. Yeah, one. Okay. But now, like, you're not actually making a play into the choke. You're just using the bubble to block and try to get your energy back. So they're not going to walk through this corner because you windowed it, obviously. But another big scary thing is that you have energy and you're just kind of sitting there. But you didn't push into them because you didn't have the bubble economy to do it. Now you have one bubble, high energy. They're rotating the other side. You have 1.5 bubbles. Okay. Almost at 2 bubbles. This is huge. This is going to be 2 bubbles, high energy. What you're about to do here is a massive play. This is big. This is as good as Zarya gets. You walk into their space, say, I don't give a shit that this is your contested space. I'm going to kill you, even though I'm like in the middle of the open out of nowhere. I'm like, what any other tank in this spot would be like out of position. But I can do this because I'm Zarya with 2 bubbles and high energy. And I'll just bubble my way out. It wasn't even unsafe. It was just how Zarya works. She had 2 bubbles, high energy. She can make a play. Now you're kind of lower on bubbles. You don't really have 2 bubbles. You're barely scraping up the next one here soon. You do have high energy, but you're low health. You need to be like really careful how you play this. You find a big grab. Sweet play. Very cool. A little bit of wasted bubble there. You want to get to 2 bubbles. You got 1 now. It's okay. You're still going to get 2. That bubble wasn't terrible because you are going to get to 2 by the time the next fight actually happens. So I won't blame you too much for it. Okay. We have decent energy. 36 is fine. All right. That's fine. And 2 bubbles. So we can do things. We can make plays and we can deny plays. What we're going to do now is we're going to deny a play. The monkey's going to jump in, use his jump, and he's going to use his bubble. Dumbass. You just used 1 bubble to negate every bit of value that would have gotten. And now he's wasted his jump and his bubble. He's irrelevant. Your team pushes choke and you win the fight. Here's another bubble. You're pretty high energy now, and you're coming up on another bubble because you spaced him out pretty damn well. You got a huge beat, huge field. You just shove into the choke. There's nothing they can do about it. Hell yeah. There you go. And they failed to touch the point. Even if they were able to touch that point, like, even if they didn't C9, you won that fight. Because that fight, you played your bubbles pretty well. You did pretty damn good. As a whole team, you did pretty good at that fight. So nice. Okay. We'll look at the final one, and this is fun. You do switch to D.Va here. This one's going to be a little bit different. So, cliff notes on this one, all right, is they're going to end up playing, they're going to get a monkey on their comp, all right, in a second here. You're playing Sombra, Genji, D.Va with an Ana Brig backline. So what that's going to tell me is that your backline is, number one, self-sustainable. So you do not have to pay too much attention to peeling for your own backline very often. You really just want to play faster is the kind of the key here. And you don't want to poke at all. You don't want to take any sort of like fight with the enemy monkey if you don't have to. You generally want to focus on dive targets that are actually dive targets. And you want to be the one that identifies a target and acts on it before they identify one of your targets and acts on it. You do not want to face their front line head on. You do not want to have a neutral 1v1, sorry, a neutral 5v5 against their team in just like whatever position, because they're going to have bubble and range pressure where you're going to have defense matrix, which is not as good as bubble in blocking the damage, and you have Sombra instead of the Sojourn, so their range pressure is just better, and they're going to be behind a bubble, and so you're just not going to be able to do any damage to them. You don't actually want to take those kinds of fights with them. You want to skip those kinds of fights. You want to play faster than them, identify where their backline is, and pounce on them before they make a play. Is ideally what you want to do. As how you win this fight. Okay. Now we're going to go out here. I want to show you what's going to end up happening is that it's not going to work out for you in this first fight. One of the big disadvantages, again, you're going to see how slow it is to play Sombra. Sombra takes an entirely different lane. Now, your core, D.Va on a Brig, goes to the bell up there, the drum, or whatever you want to call it. And when this fight's happening up here in the north, you see that Genji's nowhere near it. All right? Your team has not scouted a target yet. Sombra is out in the middle of Narnia, just completely out of the fight. And you're taking a fight where Winston's going to drop a bubble, Sojourn's going to outrange pressure your core, and you're not really able to fight here. So in this position, you are losing. You want to kite away. Use your defense matrix to get out, like pull back. Even if it means coming all the way back here, like jet back a little bit, jet back to here, come back through this window and just like pull off, peel back, peel to here, set up for an actual fight, right? Because you'll see what happens, right? Genji has to use his dash to even like get into like the realm of where this fight's happening. He's not even using dash on a dive target. So he's already like Genji -1 dash. You're kind of just like not able to keep up with the pressure. Their Genji's already got a kind of a mini little flank on you. Their bubble's gotten a lot of value. They've already put in some range pressure. They're going to get a big ante, and they're going to put a field on you. The Genji is going to die here. Sombra is just now making it to the fight. This is the speed of Sombra, all right? Sombra just now getting to the fight here. Gets the hack. The hack finally happens where what you're trying to look for here in your sort of dive comp. You're looking for that hack so you can dive that target. But your team just already lost the fight before the hack even came off, all right? And it's at this point where once you know the fight is lost, you just kind of want to die as quick as possible. In a real game of Overwatch, not just a scrim where there's scrim etiquette and they're not going to stagger you. Obviously, right here, you just jump off the edge. Because as D.Va, you're extra punished for dying because when you die, you're leaving your team without a tank. There's no other tank to exist, so there is no tank on your team until you die as Baby D.Va and respawn 10 seconds after that and then get back to the fight. So don't put yourself in that position. If you can, just jump off the edge, do it. And if you can protect yourself and not lose your mech somehow, do it. It's in this moment you have jets, so you can jet into the pit and die. Okay. Go next. Sombra's kind of looking in this direction. She's cloaked right now. So she has identified their backline, and that's good. That's step one here. You got to identify their backline, and you want to make a play on their backline before they make a play on yours. Your dive is better than their dive. All right? That is because you have D.Va, Genji, and Sombra all going in on like one coordinated dive, and all they really have is maybe some range pressure from Sojourn, and then like Genji and Winston going for whatever dive they're going for. They have a little bit more poke in that little combination of 3 heroes, whereas you're kind of like all in on the dive. So you need to be faster on the dive, and you only want the fight to matter where the dive is. You don't want there to be like ideally, Winston is just not even a part of the fucking equation. Like ideally, that's how this works. So in this, you're actually a little bit successful, and you make a pretty solid play here as a team. I want to point that out. You're kind of looking out here. You're kind of scouting. You're going to use your DM here to just kind of block what Sojourn's doing to you. You kind of block that. Your Sombra's in position. You already know the core is up by the drum, and that's kind of what you're playing for. And so you see that, you kind of get some information, and you jump through the window like that. Great play. You kind of joined your Genji up here. Look where the Winston is. Winston like is kind of wondering what the heck he's supposed to be doing. He's trying to find your backline. He eventually kind of finds out where they are, but not faster, right? Notice what the Winston's doing. He's kind of like second guessing himself. You got the hack. You got the hack. And so you're winning this fight. You're like ahead in tempo right now. This fight matters right here. Like this is where the fight matters. And this hack happens, and your Genji gets the dash onto the Ana just as she gets packed, or she's like, or maybe she nadered herself. She gained a little bit of health there. And then you go for the jet boost onto it, and you guys together, you kill that Ana before the enemy red team was able to actually make a play on your team. And so you played faster on this fight, and that kind of made this little part of it successful. And then from here, this is where you guys kind of struggled a little bit. You're struggling to figure out whether you should, number one, should you chain target call and go for another target, or should you stabilize? And in this whole play that you've made here, it turns out that the play is actually a stabilize. And the reason for that is that if you watch kind of what's happening with Genji here, he's 7 seconds to dash, and he's just used deflect. So this Genji is out of operation for a little bit, right? He's low health. He doesn't have cooldowns. Sombra's not part of the fight. No, she's not part of the equation. And so, yeah, you're 1-up at the moment, but you are on the back foot. So in the choice between chain target call or retreat and stabilize, it's stabilize. Stabilize, find another target, try to rotate away from like Window's effective dive range, or Winston's effective dive range, and look for another target. Because right now, like, now you've lost your Genji, so this is kind of rough. But your core is fine. Like, Ana Brig is fine. The Sojourn and the Genji can try to push this core, and this is such a bulky core back here of Ana Brig that like the Sojourn and the Genji have trouble with it. Notice how the Genji just like retreats. Notice how the Sojourn isn't really going to find much. She just kind of retreats. Like, your backline's fine, right? Your backline's fine. You're just looking to scout something, like find your stabilize, scout something, and go for the kill. Scout something, go for the kill, and try to play faster than what they're doing. Their Brig dies here. That's unfortunate. You're looking for something on the Brig here. I noticed that you just used jets, and you're purpled, all right? And you're now dueling a Brig. And if I go back 10 seconds, you're gonna watch this for a second here, right? You got this. This whole thing, I mean, you're not within line of sight of your Brig. It would have been nice, or it's a line of sight of your Ana. It'd be nice to go to your Ana here for like a stabilization play. But instead, you are purpled. You are 182 life, and you're really chasing down this Brig. You know that's a losing fight, right? Like the Brig, full health, you're at 182. You're gonna die to Brig. Like, she just kills you. And so I know you have ult here. You can choose to use it as a second life or toss the ult. I think using it as second life is probably better than tossing it. Depending, you can toss it, and it might be able to create space for like a different, like a kind of it creates time and space for a positional rotation for your team, so that they can set up something else. They can set up a sort of like a dive play of some kind. It's a lot of times though, it can be easier, especially if you don't expect to actually get kills with the bomb. And if you're just going to use it to create space, then sometimes it's better to just not worry about that and focus on the game, focus on the neutral, and don't focus on trying to get the most out of your ult. And instead, just like focus on what's your play, what's their play. I'll just use that as a second life and call it good. Here though, you're not going to use it for either. You don't use it for the second life. You don't prioritize trying to like make a play with it. What you've done here is you are not using the bomb as a second life, and you did not retreat away. You instead just took the fight with the Brig, fed your mech, did not second life, and then she just kills you. So I feel like either of the other two things was better. Either you could have second lifed it and forced the brig to walk away from you, hid behind the corner, got your mech back, and still been in the fight, maintained your tempo a little bit there. Or you could have just ran away with your mech and not actually have demeched yourself. Okay, moving on. All right, and this is the last fight. Fortunately, there was only 3 fights on this map. They just kind of like, they just outplayed you a little bit here. You catch here, you catch some DM on the side here. You catch some like spam coming this way. But what I thought was kind of weird is that your backline's about to come this way. So why aren't you DMing your backline so that they can get through with this spam? Because that could have gone a lot worse for them, right? And it doesn't make sense that you just like, all right, my backline will make it on their own, I guess. But you should probably use your DM to just kind of like safely guide them past that little choke point there. Another thing I want to mention here is that if you notice, kind of your team has played the way that I told you was going to be really difficult for you, and that is to say that you're playing like frontline v frontline. You didn't do the thing where you kind of scout around them and play a dive on their backline like you did in that previous fight. And instead here, you kind of took their monkey head on, and this is like not what you want to do, because their backline over here is able to keep the monkey up pretty easily. And so this is really hard for you to actually get a kill on the monkey. Your Genji goes down. You're too centrally located here. No one's contesting this sojourn. Like, you didn't rotate all the way around or anything like that. You're not like coordinating an actual dive on anyone. You're actually just like face tanking like a poke battle that merges itself into a brawl against the enemy Winston with a sojourn on the off angle, completely uncontested. You get nanoed. You do EMP. They are gonna miss a nano, but they meant to nano the monkey here. Accidentally, they nano the brig. And so you actually, because of that misplay, you do get a kill on the monkey. But with the rally, Sojourn is still just chilling on that sideline. Your Sombra goes down. Your brig goes down. This is just really hard for you to win. The bomb's going to be irrelevant. It's actually blocked by the ceiling geometry here. And then you're what? I mean, this is like 1v4, 2v4, 3v4 on point. Still. That probably, I don't know if that went on any longer. VOD ended there, I guess. Maybe he added too much time in the spawn room, but that's pretty much what I have to say about that one. I hope it was helpful, and let me know if you have any other VODs you want me to look at. And that was a lot of fun. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a good day.